Hey guys, welcome back to Bird Nest Farms. On this week's episode, we're going to do our normal hive inspection. So we're going to be checking for pest pressure. We're going to be checking for space. We'll be looking for eggs, make sure our hives are doing well. It does appear that the flow is slowing down. So we're just going to keep an eye on that and make sure that we're keeping room in here and keeping an eye out for our pests. So the temperature is increasing out here, and we know with the increased temperature that we're going to have issues with hive beetles. So we're going to go ahead and start probably next week setting up traps and filming what kind of equipment that we use to keep the beetles under control. And we'll film some of that and put it in probably next week's video. Also, be looking out for the timestamps at the bottom of the videos if you want to jump around to different hive inspections or maybe something that's more interesting, a particular subject that's interesting to you. We've been doing that as well. I would encourage you to go to the comment section of the videos and look at some of the comments that other folks have been making. I'm not a professional beekeeper and I don't claim to be. Some of the comments that folks are adding to the bottom is really important information. So sometimes I miss something or someone has something to add. So if you're a professional beekeeper or someone with some knowledge, please feel free to jump into the comments section and add, your opinions and share your experience with others. Okay, so these guys are getting pretty active, so let's jump into the hive inspections and see what we got this week. Okay, so this is William's hive. William's hive is looking really good. Looks like our ground cinnamon is working, as I see one black ant. So we'll jump on in, open up the inner cover here and see how we're doing. Yeah, so no, I don't see any other black ants. So there's one here. So 2 black ants so far that we've seen. And since 2 weeks ago, I believe, when we started adding the ground cinnamon to the top up here and also down to the side where they were kind of climbing up to come in. I mentioned last week that we were slowing down, that the bees were slowing down a little bit, and that may be still true. We're hopefully going to get some rain. It hasn't rained in a while here. It's extremely dry. The tallow is about to blossom, and we really need the rain. Okay, so I've got honey towards the end here. So let's just jump in and make sure they're filling it out all the way across. If that's the case, then we definitely need to add, so they are definitely adding honey or nectar to these honey supers. So we're going to need to add a super to this one, which is great news. We jump in here and see if we're taking care of business in the brood chamber. Seeing lots of honey in the tops. Sorry for the wind. I hope it's not messing with the audio. It's kind of a lot of wind here. Okay, I see eggs on the end here, and I'm seeing an emergency cell on this side here. Let's see here. So you should be able to see eggs in the very bottom of these cells. And then we have an emergency cell here. And it's capped. So these guys are wanting to replace the queen, or she's been injured. So maybe we'll look a little further just for the fun of it. See if we can see what's going on here. They shouldn't, they have room. So let's just jump in a little bit further. See if we can find a queen. Yeah, more supersedure cells. Or more. That looks like a supersedure cell. No, that's an emergency cell. So I'm seeing eggs, new bees everywhere, a couple of more emergency cells. I'll make sure that I have the terminology correctly, but from what I understand, if there's already an egg in one of the cells and they build it out like that, that's kind of an emergency cell versus a swarm cell, which will be different locations. But yeah, they're all sealed. So, and I see eggs. Oh, check this out. Let's see if I can hold this frame here. If you look in the bottom of these cells right here, there are brood emerging. See those cells right there? Look at that one right there. You can see the broods emerging from the cells. So that's pretty cool. Okay, let me put this one back together. I might dig a little further to see if I can find a queen, and just for the fun of it. But we've definitely got some issues going on this one. So I'm glad I kept filming so I can show you guys something that I find interesting on the third frame in, I believe it is. See down here, the bottom, how they have those queen cups? Well, if you look inside them, there is actually larvae in there. So once they cap these, they'll be queen cells, but there's definitely larvae inside those cells. So that's pretty cool. So as I've been searching through William's hive, trying to figure out what in the world is going on with his queen, because there are so many queen cups in there and emergency cells or all that good jazz, that I was just in eggs. I was kind of perplexed as to what could have happened with this hive. I turn around, I'm looking over here, and I see that we've got a swarm. So I'm going to assume that this came from William's hive, and that that's maybe I get that super on fast enough. It was probably 90% filled out, and these guys swarmed. So I'm going to try to catch them in Claire's hive. We had a couple of misses at the beginning of the year with Claire's hive, so I'm going to try to capture these guys. There's a waggle dance, top right. So there was a lot of comments whenever I was making the swarm videos about, I wanted to lay the sheet down in front of the hive and let them kind of walk in. There was a lot of comments about taking the bees and shaking them in front of the box as opposed to directly into the box. And I'll give credit to the folks who were commenting and making those observations. And one of the other things that was brought up that I'd never mentioned was, if you really want to increase the chances that you're going to keep your swarms, you would take them several miles away, wait several days, let them get oriented to that place, and then bring them back to your apiary. So I think what I'm going to try to do is see if I can get them to march in on their own. Unfortunately, I don't have a sheet with me today. That would have been really cool. But yeah, let me get you set up on a tripod, and I'll see if I can wrangle these bees. Alright, so I've got the tripod set up about the best angle I can get in this light. I think what I'm going to try to do is try to pull this branch over and shake them down in the front of the hive. See if we can't get a good waggle. Oh, waggle dances in my head, sorry. See if we can't get them to actually march in. It's really cool to watch. I tried to capture it on some of the other videos, and there was a couple of them, you know, a couple of good marches, but I'm hoping if I shake them out just down here that we'll get them to a good march into the hive. So let me move these guys closer. Wow, it's really heavy. Move these guys closer to the entrance and give them a shake. If I can see the queen, I'll definitely try to grab her. Okay, so it looks like they're all marching in, which is really cool. Let's see if we get a queen. Hoping the microphone's picking up all of that noise there. There's quite a bit of bees in here. This would be a really good capture. Definitely don't want to lose them. Oh, there's the queen right there. She just went into the hive. I hope I caught that. A big finger didn't get in the way. So she's definitely in the hive. I've heard a lot about multiple queens in a swarm, so we're going to keep our eyes out. If you look at Barnyard Bees, he's proven it a couple of times in his swarms where he's caught 7 or 8 different queens in a single swarm. So I'm going to keep looking. I feel like I've got pretty fortunate so far just seeing that one queen go in. Again, like we've said before, whenever you're looking for the queen, you're not looking at every bee, you're scanning the bees to see what's different. So I'll just sit there and capture this bee march a bit. Okay, so you see some of the abdomens in the air, and they're starting to fan. So they're spreading her pheromones, letting everybody else know, all the other bees know, like, hey, this is our new home, guys. So a lot of abdomens in the air, a lot of fanning going on. That's good news. See all the bees marching in that direction. It's one of my favorite things to watch. It's amazing. Okay, so let me give this a few minutes, and we'll see what else is going on in the yard today. Wanted to show you guys what happens whenever you leave some of your frames out unprotected. You can see the wax moths have came into this deep. I just had the deep sitting out here with a top on it because I intended to come back and use it. And the wax moths have really done some damage to it. You see the lines in here? That's another clear indication of wax moth damage. Here's another larva here. So this is 100% due to neglect on my part. See the damage, all the straight lines, all the pollen. There's the enemies right there. So don't do that. Don't leave your frames out. If you do need to store your frames, you can put them in the freezer or leave them out in the open. The wax moths don't like the sunlight. So this is what happens whenever you don't store things correctly. Okay guys, that is what we've been anticipating would happen. That is a hive beetle That is the guy we've been anticipating would be an issue. So I'm gonna take him out. So that's what we do with hive beetles around here. Anyway, there's a lot of things that we can do to help prevent and help the bees out with this, but we'll put some traps in here and we'll put some beetle barns and things like that. And I'll talk about that, I guess, maybe in an opening of the next week's video. But anyway, so that's the first hive beetle I've seen this year. So we know they're an issue, and we'll take some preventative measures. Okay, so this is Liam's hive, and I'm having some issues with Liam's hive. They were pretty aggressive last week, and this hive was made out of a split that we received. That we work with a local gentleman who kind of does cutouts and things like that. He doesn't keep the bees, but he does go and do cutouts, and then we kind of rescue the bees. So we noticed that that this one and the other hive, the parent hive here, from this one it's a lot more aggressive than what we're accustomed to dealing with. So I'm going to be really fair to these guys. I'm going to give them a whole lot of smoke today. It's later than I usually get to this hive, and we'll see. So last time they got really aggressive, we got in the brood chamber. So I'm just going to make sure that I got all my PPE on correctly. Then we'll jump down into this hive and see how they behave. If they continue to misbehave, we'll requeen this hive with another queen. Maybe we'll purchase a queen just to keep the genetics diverse. They're doing really well as far as production, though. I mean, so they've got most of this side filled out here, and the queen is really, she really produces very well. It's really just the aggression of the bees that I take issue with. So I'll be more than fair with them on the smoke, and I'll give them time. We'll see if we have the same reaction we did last week with them. So last week we opened them up, checked them out, gave them probably 10 or 15 minutes to calm down, and we were maybe 50 yards away, and they were still kind of after us. I just don't want to work with bees like that. So far, so good. I've only had one bee kind of bump me thus far. Again, I'm being way more than generous with the smoke. I normally wouldn't use this much smoke. Okay, so I'm starting to see a little bit of a change in their behavior. Starting to get more bees bumping me. They're jumping at my hands as I move around the hive here. It's not intolerable at this point. But there is a significant difference. So this one's got 2 deeps and 2 supers. I've checked several other colonies today, 4 other colonies in the same bee yard that are bigger than this one. So a lot of people will say that it has to do with the size of the colony, and they would be correct. I would agree with that. But so I'm seeing eggs all over the place here, so we'll put them back. But just for reference, we have 4 other colonies in the same yard that are bigger than this one that I worked, and I had no issue with them. So I don't know if you can hear that, but there's only a few buzzing me right now, and I don't take into account the ones that are just flying in the air. I usually am counting the ones that are bouncing off of me, the ones that are being more aggressive. Like a couple of them just hit my hand as I reach down to pick up the deep. And we'll give them a few minutes once I get everything set up just to see how they behave. once I put them all back together. I am going to put another deep on here just to make sure that we're staying ahead of them. I can hear them inside being more aggressive. And also there's more kind of jumping at me. So we'll likely end up requeening this one. But I'll give them a little bit more time to see if they settle out. But if they don't, I'll try to make a video of requeening and maybe track it and see what kind of difference in temperament we get with the quality queen. Anyway, so let me put this one together and then we'll jump on to the next one. Okay guys, this is the notorious hive number 10. This is the most aggressive hive that I have, and it's one that I am talking about often whenever I say I want to requeen one of my hives. This is the one. We received this from a gentleman that does cutouts, and it's way more aggressive than the hives that I'm accustomed to working. So we tried to requeen it once to help out with genetics, and it really didn't do much. So we're going to take a look at it again today and see how they behave, see if they've calmed down any, and if they keep acting up, we'll go ahead and requeen this one while we're requeening Liam's hive. So they've got this sucker propolized really well. Alright, there we go. Alright, I'm going to give them some smoke to start off with, just so that I'm trying to be as fair with them as I can be. I'll give them way more smoke than I normally do. Oh man. Wow. Alright. So I'll just give them a minute. Getting lots of smoke. Give them a second to calm down. Already have two of them kind of bumping me. I'll just make sure all my PPE's on, because this one's never fun to work with. Alright, let's see how they behave. So they got a little bit of burr comb on the top, a lot of bees on the top lid. So I'm just double checking everything, seeing what they're doing. I think that it opened up some, yeah, that's what it is. So the reason they're on the top lids because they had some burr comb that they started backfilling with honey. Trying to go pretty easy on them. Give them a chance to behave. So it definitely packed out here. Appear to be in good health. Lots of bees. Don't see any pests. Let's jump on down into the brood frame. Yeah, I don't know if you guys can hear that, but they definitely started picking up now. Try to give them a little bit more smoke, see if that helps anything. Again, I'm not taking into account the bees that are in the air. I'm really discussing only the ones that are bumping against me and bouncing off of me. So I'm seeing a lot of eggs in here. Yeah, quite a bit of eggs. So they're doing well. They're just way more aggressive. Of course, it is kind of overcast and windy today, but I did not have the same issues with the other hives. They're not that far away. I can still see them from here. So I don't know if the microphone is picking up the difference between these bees and the ones that we were working just a few minutes ago, but I'm afraid these are going to have to be requeened. Having aggressive bees is no fun, and I have too many people that come out here, my family and everything else, to have bees this aggressive in the yard. So I think we'll set something up to film next week where we go through and try to find the queen and take care of her and get us a new queen in here. So anyway, let me put this one back together. I'll catch up with you on the next one. Okay, so we're set up on Savanna's hive. Let's jump in and take a look at how her hive is doing this morning. Seeing just a couple of black ants out on the top board here. Just a few black ants, nothing major. Seeing quite a bit of bees here. It's looking good. Got a lot of coverage across the top. Looking down into the cells, it looks like they're really built out all the way across the end frame on the north side. It does look like it's got a little extra room for them to build out, but all the other frames are pretty full. Yeah, so this one, they've still got room to work here. So I'm going to have to give these guys another deep. So I'm going to jump on into the brood frame here. Just make sure that they've got eggs. I'm not really seeing anything yet as far as hive beetles. Just a little bit of black ants. So it looks like they're backfilling the brood frames with honey, which is not something we really want them to do. They're doing that because they're running out of space. So we definitely need to give them the super. I have a spare super that I can add on to these guys. Usually I want to try to stay ahead of them so that this doesn't occur. But she's just, this queen is really a good quality queen. I'm seeing eggs down in the bottom. I got a good pattern. So let me just show you this pattern real quick and we'll add them a super. Look at that pattern. It's honey up here in the corner. Capped brood. And then a little bit of honey here. So let me put this back in the hive. I'll add a deep. I keep saying super for some reason. I'm going to add a deep to the hive. And then we'll move on to the next one. Okay, let's jump into Alexander's hive real quick. Move this comb.
Yeah, so I'm looking down in here, and they've got most of it started, so he definitely needs a super added to it. We're running out of super, so I'm gonna have to go buy some more, which is a good problem to have, I guess. So I'm looking down, and they've got it totally built out down here at the bottom, all the way across all of the frames. Some open area there, uncapped honey. Jumping onto the brood frame here. Looks like we got a really good pattern. Yeah, nice pattern. Looks like they've got a lot of drones there on the bottom. Also looks like everywhere that the bees emerge from, they're backfilling with honey. So we just got to be careful with that. I'm going to keep going until I see some eggs. I love seeing new comb. So good looking. It's nice and white. Okay, I see eggs on the bottom of this frame. And if you didn't know what I was doing, you could, instead of using smoke, you can move the bees around by just blowing on them. There's something about that they don't like. So if you want them to move and you have a frame in your hands, you can just blow on them and they'll move. Of course, they're not going to be too happy about it, but they will move out of the way. So looking good here. We probably should add a super to this one as well. And then we'll put it back together and move on to the next hive. This is Brianna's hive. Let's jump on in to Brianna's hive and see how things are looking this week. So on the top box, I'm looking in. I'm seeing that they've caught quite a bit of room still. They are adding wax to the frames and building them out, but there's not plenty of room. I'll show you how beautiful the wax looks whenever it's fresh. New wax. See how white that wax is compared to some of the old stuff? And you can see why I like these black frames. See down there on the bottom of the cells, that's all eggs. And on top of that's honey. So you can see how easily you can spot those eggs. So that's why we've transitioned away from the yellow type of frames to these black frames.